Not innocent anymore chose an opening you should not have come. That was the first thought. Clear and useless as she stood in my doorway with rain in her hair and the old steadiness in her eyes. The hallway light made her look almost young, which was unkind. I stepped back to let her in, and the air between us shifted as if something long buried had taken a breath. Chapter 1. She did not apologize. I noticed that first. No nervous smile, no explanation, just the faint scent of wet wool and whatever soap she had always preferred. Something spare and clean. She closed her umbrella carefully, as if entering a chapel. I wasn't certain you still lived here, she said. I don't, I replied. Not entirely. She studied me for a moment. You always did answer the wrong question. I took her coat. My hands brushed her shoulders. The contact was brief, unceremonious, and yet it landed somewhere deep, as if the body had kept a record the mind had misplaced. The living room was dim. I had left only one lamp on. Outside, the rain tapped at the windows with a soft insistence. She moved slowly through the space, not touching anything but looking. The bookshelves, the piano, the chair by the window where my wife had spent her last winter. You've kept it orderly, she said. It keeps me, I answered. She gave a small nod. We were both careful. The way one is careful with a fracture that has healed crooked. May I sit? She asked. Of course. She chose the chair opposite mine. The distance between us was deliberate. I poured water into 2 glasses and set one on the table beside her. The gesture felt formal, almost ceremonial. You look well, she said. I look older. So do I. There was no false modesty in it. She had aged beautifully, though that word felt trivial. Time had refined her, not diminished her. The lines at her mouth had deepened, but they seemed earned. Her hair, once the color of dark honey, was now threaded with silver. You cut it, I said, after my mother died. I nodded, though she had not been asking for acknowledgement. The mention of her mother hung between us. Another absence, another closed room. I'm sorry, I said, late. So am I. Silence settled, but it was not empty. It was crowded with all the sentences we had once rehearsed and never spoken. Why are you here, Claire? She inhaled, then let it out slowly. She had always been deliberate with breath, as if it were a resource not to be squandered. Because I couldn't bear the alternative. That's not an answer. It's the only honest one. I leaned back in my chair. My pulse had not steadied since I opened the door. It felt indecent at her age to be so acutely aware of blood. You wrote, she continued, after the funeral. I wrote many people. You wrote me differently. I had no defense prepared. I had not expected her to come in person. A letter can be contained, it can be folded, placed in a drawer, mislaid on purpose. You told me you forgave me, she said. I do. For what, exactly? For leaving? Her gaze sharpened. I did not leave. You married someone else. That is not the same. It felt identical. The rain intensified, striking the glass with more force. For a moment, neither of us spoke. We listened, as if the weather might arbitrate. You asked me to wait, she said quietly. Without a promise, without a plan. You asked me to remain suspended while you decided what sort of man you wished to be. I was already a man. You were a possibility. The word landed with precision. Possibility. It carried both hope and indictment. I loved you, I said. I know. I loved you. She closed her eyes briefly. You loved the part of yourself that existed with me. And you? I loved you in spite of yourself. The room seemed smaller now. The lamp cast a narrow circle of light that did not quite reach her face. I could see only the outline of her cheek, the slope of her shoulder. Does he know you're here? I asked. She did not pretend to misunderstand. No, a pause. He thinks I'm with my sister. Are you? She almost smiled. In a manner of speaking, I stood and walked to the window. The street below was empty. The rain had blurred the outlines of the houses opposite. Everything looked uncertain, as if drawn in charcoal and smudged by a careless hand. You shouldn't risk this, I said. I am not a fragile woman. That isn't what I meant. I know what you meant. I rested my palm against the cool glass. It grounded me. Is he ill? I asked. She was quiet for a long moment. Yes. The word altered the room. How ill? Enough. I turned back to her. She was watching me with the same steady gaze she had brought to the doorway. There was no drama in it, only resolve. And you? I asked. Are you unhappy? She considered the question as if it required careful measurement. I am faithful, she said. That wasn't the question. I know. She leaned forward slightly, her hands clasped in her lap. I have been a good wife, she continued. I have done what was required. I have kept house. I have listened. I have forgiven. I have endured. And I have been lonely in a way that does not show. The admission was simple. It did not tremble. That made it more dangerous. You think I have not? I asked. I don't know how you have lived, she replied. You always preferred not to be known in that way. That's unfair. It is accurate. I almost laughed. It would have been easier if she had been cruel, but she was precise instead. You wrote that you forgave me, she said again. I have not forgiven you. For what? For making me choose decency over desire. The words settled heavily. They were not shouted. They did not need to be. I never asked you to be indecent. You asked me to want you beyond reason, and you didn't. Her silence was the answer. I sat again. The space between us felt charged now, not with memory, but with something present and alive. Why now? I asked. Because time has become visible. In what sense? In the way he breathes at night, in the way the doctor avoids my eyes, in the way I wake at 3 a.m. and know that something is closing. I swallowed, and you thought of me. I never stopped. The honesty of it struck hard. There was no flirtation in her voice, no invitation, just fact. That's not kind, I said. Kindness is not what I am offering. She reached into her bag and removed a small envelope. It was worn at the edges as if handled often. I kept your letters, she said. All of them. I assumed you would burn them. I considered it. She placed the envelope on the table between us. I recognized my own handwriting immediately. Younger, more forceful, less restrained. I read them last week, she continued. I wanted to see whether I had imagined it, whether we had imagined it, and we had not. I did not reach for the envelope. What do you want from me, Claire? She looked at me then in a way she had not yet, direct, unshielded. I want to know whether we were cowards, she said. The question did not feel rhetorical. We made choices, I said. That is not the same. What would you have had me do? Asked me to come with you. I did. You asked me to wait. I had nothing to offer. You had yourself. That was precisely the problem. A faint, humorless smile touched her mouth. You see, she said softly, you still believe that loving you would have been a burden? It would have. To whom? To you. She shook her head. You never allowed me the dignity of that decision. Her words opened something I had kept carefully sealed. I felt it now, a pressure beneath the ribs. I was afraid, I said. Of me, of needing you. The confession hovered. It felt indecent in its nakedness. And now? She asked. I did not answer immediately. The rain had softened again. The room felt suspended in that muted sound. Now I am old enough to know the difference between need and weakness, I said. And I am not certain it matters. She stood then abruptly. The movement startled me. I should go, she said. Already? Yes. She reached for her coat. I rose to help her, but she stepped back slightly, a subtle boundary. This was a mistake, I said. Was it? You are married? So were you. The words struck, clean and unadorned. My wife is dead, and mine is dying. We stood very close now, closer than we had been since she entered. I did love her, I said quietly. I know. She deserved more than a ghost in the room. And did she have one? I hesitated. Claire's eyes did not waver. That is what I came to understand, she said. Whether I have been living with a ghost as well? And have you? She searched my face as if the answer might be written there. I don't know, she said. Her hand hovered near my sleeve, then dropped. We both noticed the restraint. If he dies, I began, then stopped. Yes, she prompted. If he dies, what then? She held my gaze. Then I will have no excuse, she said. The sentence was quiet. It carried no promise. Only consequence. She opened the door. The rain had thinned to a fine mist. The night beyond was indistinct, forgiving. Claire, I said. She paused, not turning. We were not cowards, I told her. What were we? Careful. She looked back at me then, and for a moment I saw the young woman I had once believed I could not survive. Careful, she repeated. That may be worse. She stepped into the night without another word. I stood in the doorway long after she disappeared from sight. The air was damp. The house behind me felt altered, as if some sealed chamber had been opened and left ajar. On the table, the envelope remained. I closed the door slowly, and only then did I reach for it. Chapter 2, the envelope was lighter than I expected. I turned it over once in my hands, then again. My name was written in the firm script I had once believed would outlast anything. The ink had not faded. It seemed to accuse me of that. Inside were 3 letters, not all of them, just 3. I knew immediately which ones they were. The first I had written after she married. The second the winter my wife fell ill. The third after the funeral. I unfolded the earliest. The paper made a small, decisive sound. You once told me that love should enlarge a life, not narrow it. I am trying to believe that this is what we have done. I stopped there. I remembered the night I wrote it, the kitchen light burning too bright, the silence of the house like a reprimand. My wife asleep upstairs, breathing evenly, unaware of the reckoning taking place below. I set the letter down. There is a cruelty in revisiting one's own sincerity. It feels naive even when it was not. The second letter was shorter. I saw you today in the market. You did not see me. I stood there longer than was dignified. I do not regret loving you. I regret the shape it has taken. I closed my eyes. I had seen her that day. I had pretended not to. Cowardice has many polite disguises. The third letter was the most restrained. You came to the service. Thank you. I had not expected you to. Grief is a private country. I was startled to find you there. That had been the first time we had spoken in 15 years, a brief exchange in the vestibule, her gloved hand in mine, my wife's coffin 10 feet away. I'm sorry, she had said then. For which of us, I had asked, she had not answered. I folded the letters carefully and returned them to the envelope. I did not place them back on the table. I carried them to my desk and set them in the drawer I rarely opened. The house felt different now, less contained. I did not sleep. At 3 in the morning, I stood in the kitchen with a glass of water and watched the dark garden beyond the window. The branches moved faintly in the wind. I tried to imagine Claire lying beside her husband, listening to his breath. Time has a sound when it is measured in respirations. I wondered whether she was awake. I wondered whether she regretted coming. By morning, the rain had stopped. I walked to the cafe 2 streets over, as I did most days. Routine is a mercy. It narrows the field of thought. The bell above the door chimed. Usual? Daniel asked from behind the counter. Yes, he did not inquire further. He was young enough to assume that habit equals contentment. I took my cup to the small table by the window. The street was washed clean. People moved with purpose. The world appeared intact. My phone vibrated. A message. I should not have stayed so long. No greeting, no signature. I stared at the screen. After a moment, another message appeared. I did not mean to unsettle you. I typed a reply, erased it, typed again. You did not. I sent it before I could reconsider. The 3 dots appeared almost immediately. You are lying. I did not answer. The cafe hummed around me, cups against saucers, the low murmur of morning conversation. It all felt remote. My phone vibrated once more. May I see you again? There it was, no pretense. I set the phone face down on the table. Desire at 20 is reckless. At 68, it is measured. It calculates the cost. I finished my coffee slowly. I did not respond. When I returned home, the house felt expectant. I placed my keys in the bowl by the door. I removed my coat. I walked into the living room and stood where she had stood the night before. The chair opposite mine still held the faint impression of her weight. I sat. After several minutes, I picked up the phone. When? I wrote. The reply came after a longer pause this time. Tomorrow afternoon, I have an appointment near you. An appointment. The word was carefully chosen. Here? I asked. Another pause. No, I understood. We met in the public garden near the river. It was late winter. The trees were bare, their branches stark against the pale sky. The benches were mostly empty. She was already there when I arrived, seated near the water. She did not rise. I wasn't certain you would come, she said. I wasn't certain either. She studied my face as if searching for signs of deterioration. You look tired, she said. I didn't sleep because of me? Yes, she absorbed that without visible satisfaction. I won't apologize, she said. I didn't ask you to. A child ran past us, chasing a red ball. The sound of laughter cut briefly through the still air. Tell me about her, Claire said. My wife? Yes, the request was steady, not accusatory. What would you like to know, whether you were happy? I considered the question carefully. Yes, I said, in the way one can be. She waited. We were kind to each other, I continued. We built something stable. We understood the value of quiet. And love. Yes, she nodded. And you? I asked. Tell me about him. She looked out at the river. He is a good man, she said. He has always been a good man. That sounds like a verdict. It is a fact. And were you happy? She smiled faintly. In the way one can be, we both heard the echo. I did not spend my marriage wishing for you, she said, if that is what you imagine. I don't imagine anything. That's not true. She turned to face me fully. There were years, she continued, when I did not think of you at all, not consciously. And unconsciously, she hesitated. That is harder to measure. The river moved slowly beside us. A boat passed in the distance, leaving a narrow wake. Why did you really come? I asked. She did not deflect this time. Because he asked me something, she said. What? He asked whether there had ever been someone else. The question landed heavily. And what did you say? I said yes. The world seemed to narrow. What did he do? Nothing, nothing, he nodded. He said he had always suspected. I exhaled slowly. Did you tell him my name? No. Why not? Because it is still mine. The possessiveness in that quiet sentence startled me. And what did he say then? I asked. She folded her hands together in her lap. He said, if I die, you must not live alone out of loyalty. The air seemed to thin. And you came to me. Yes. To test your options, her gaze sharpened. To test the truth. Silence stretched between us. I will not be a consolation prize, I said finally. You never were. I will not be a last act of defiance. I am not defying him. What are you doing? She stood abruptly, walked a few steps toward the river, then turned back. I am trying to decide, she said, whether love deferred is love diminished. The question was not theoretical. I rose and joined her. We are not the people we were, I said. No, we carry more, we break more easily, yes. And yet, she said quietly, when I stood in your doorway, I felt she stopped. Say it, I said. I felt alive. The word hung between us like a confession. A breeze moved across the water. I could see her hands trembling now, faintly. This is dangerous, I said. Yes, people will be hurt, yes. And still, she met my eyes, and still, we stood there, two careful people at the edge of something that did not care for caution. Come to the house, I said, before I could reconsider. Her breath caught almost imperceptibly. No, she said. Why? Because if I cross that threshold again, something will shift. It already has, not irreversibly. I stepped closer. Claire, she looked at my mouth, then away. I have been faithful, she whispered. I know. I do not want to become a woman who lies. Then don't, she held my gaze. But I also do not want to become a woman who dies having mistaken restraint for virtue. The sentence cut cleanly. We were very close now, close enough that I could see the faint pulse at her throat. Is he suffering? I asked. Yes, and you? She closed her eyes briefly. Yes. I reached out slowly and touched her hand. She did not withdraw. The contact was almost chaste, skin against skin, nothing more. But the world shifted. After a moment, she pulled away. I must go, she said. When will I see you again? She stepped back, creating distance with effort. I don't know, she replied. Is that an answer? It is the only one I have. She walked away before I could respond. I stood by the river until she disappeared from view. In my pocket, my phone vibrated. A message. I looked down. He collapsed this morning. They've taken him to the hospital. A second message followed. I don't know what happens now. I stared at the screen, the river moving steadily beside me, time measured in respirations. I began to walk. Chapter 3 hospitals have their own weather. The air is regulated. The light is constant. Time moves without reference to sky. When I arrived, it was mid-afternoon, though it could have been any hour. Claire was standing near the elevators. She looked smaller than she had by the river, compressed. Her coat still on, as if she had not yet decided to remain. You came, she said. Yes. Her eyes were rimmed with red but dry. They've moved him to intensive care. I nodded. There are moments when language becomes ornamental. This was one. Does he know? I asked. That he collapsed? Yes. That he may not recover? I don't think so. Does he know you're here? She almost smiled. I would hope so. I meant something else. She understood and did not answer. We stood side by side, not touching. People passed us with purpose. A nurse called a name. A child cried somewhere down the corridor. I shouldn't have texted you, she said quietly. You needed someone. I have people. I know. She looked at me then direct. But I wanted you. The honesty of it did not feel triumphant. It felt costly. Can I see him? I asked. Her expression shifted. Why? I don't know. She steadied my face as if weighing something fragile. He is not a symbol, she said carefully. He is a man. I understand. Do you? Yes. She held my gaze a moment longer, then nodded once. 5 minutes, she said. The room was dim. Machines made soft, rhythmic sounds. Tubes. Wires. The quiet insistence of monitoring. He looked older than I remembered. I had seen him only a handful of times over the years. At a distance, at a recital once, at the funeral. Now he lay still, his chest rising shallowly beneath a hospital gown. Claire moved to his side immediately. Her hand found his. This is David, she said softly, an old friend. The word did not escape me. His eyes opened slowly. They were clear. Ah, he said. His voice was thin but steady. The possibility, Claire inhaled sharply. I did not move. You remember, she said. I am ill, not senile, he replied faintly. His gaze rested on me. I wondered when I would meet you properly. I didn't expect the invitation, I said. A flicker of amusement crossed his face. Neither did I. Claire's hand tightened around his. You should rest, she said. In a moment, he continued to look at me. You loved her, he said. It was not a question. Yes, and yet you did not take her. No. Why? The machines hummed steadily. I thought it was kinder, I said. To whom? To everyone. He considered that. I have never found that restraint guarantees kindness, he said quietly. Claire closed her eyes briefly. You've spoken of me, I said. He asked. Claire replied. I asked whether there had been a man who mattered. He corrected gently. She said yes. I assumed you were real. I am, I said. He gave the smallest nod. She has been a good wife, he said. I know. And you? He asked. I tried to be a good husband. Tried, he repeated. My wife is dead? Yes, Claire told me. There was no accusation in his voice, only fatigue. I do not begrudge you, he said after a moment. The words startled me. You should, I replied. Why? Because I am standing here. He managed a faint smile. You are standing there, he corrected. That is the difference. Claire made a small sound, almost a protest. Enough, she whispered. He looked at her then with unmistakable tenderness. Claire, he said softly, I am not afraid of ghosts. She bowed her head. You deserve happiness, he continued. Don't, she said. He turned his gaze back to me. Do not mistake my weakness for surrender, he said quietly. If I live, she remains my wife. I understand. And if I die, he went on, his breath thinning, do not let her turn you into penance. The words landed with force. I would never, I began. He raised a hand slightly, silencing me. Love her cleanly, he said. The monitor shifted its rhythm briefly, then steadied. Claire leaned closer to him. You need to rest, she murmured. He looked at her for a long moment. I have been fortunate, he said. She pressed her forehead to his hand. Yes, she whispered. His eyes closed. The room grew quieter. We stepped back together. In the corridor, Claire did not speak at first. She walked slowly, as if the ground required testing. He shouldn't have said those things, she said finally. He meant them. That doesn't make them easier. No. She stopped near a window overlooking the parking lot. The sky had begun to darken. I am not a prize to be handed over, she said. I know. I am not a widow yet, I know. She looked at me then, her composure thinning, and I do not know whether I want to be. The admission was raw. You don't have to decide anything today, I said. But I already have, she replied. In what way? I came to the river, I texted you, I brought you into his room. Yes. I crossed lines, you crossed truths. She let out a short, unsteady breath. That sounds noble. It isn't. We stood very close now, the hum of the hospital surrounding us. If he dies, she said, I will grieve him. I would expect nothing less. And if he lives, the question hovered, then you will remain, I said. And you? I held her gaze. I will remain what I have been, which is yours, without claim. Her eyes filled then, finally. That is cruel, she said. It is precise. A nurse approached, her expression measured. You can come back in, she said gently. He's asking for you. Claire nodded. She turned to me. You should go. Yes, she hesitated. Thank you, she said. For what? For not being smaller than this, I almost smiled. I have had practice. She reached for my hand, then briefly, openly, not hidden, not furtive, a simple clasp. Then she let go. I walked down the corridor alone. At the exit, I paused. Through the glass doors, I could see the night settling over the city. Lights blinking on, lives continuing. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A message from Claire, he's asking for you again. I stood very still. A second message followed. He says there's something you should hear. The doors slid open automatically. I did not move. Programa Chachpit Skazala, Chapter 4, I went back. The corridor felt longer this time, quieter, as if the building itself were holding its breath. Claire was standing just outside the room when I approached. Her face had changed, not with panic. With recognition. He's lucid, she said. More than before. That's good. Yes, she hesitated. It feels like a window. Windows imply both light and closing. I nodded and entered. He was propped slightly higher now. The machines continued their patient vigil. His skin had taken on a faint translucence, as though the body were beginning to withdraw from its edges. You returned, he said. Yes. Good. Claire moved to his side, but he lifted a hand faintly. Stay, he told her. But let me speak. She obeyed. That told me more about their marriage than any declaration could have. He studied me for a long moment. I have been thinking, he said, which is a dangerous pastime in this condition. You should conserve your strength, Claire murmured. He gave the smallest shake of his head. No, I have conserved enough. His eyes returned to mine. Do you love her now, he asked, or do you love who she was? The question was surgical. I don't know the difference, I said. There is one. I love the woman standing here. Claire's breath caught softly. And if she is altered by grief, he pressed. She will be. And if she becomes sharper, or quieter, or less patient with your silences? I am not patient with my silences, I replied. A faint smile touched his mouth. That may be your first honest advantage. Claire made a small sound of protest. This is not a negotiation, she said. No, he agreed. It is not. He shifted slightly, wincing. I have loved her, he continued. In the daily way, the unspectacular way, I have seen her at her worst and remained. That is not poetry, it is practice. I know, I said. Do you? Yes, his gaze held mine. This passion is easy to worship when it has not endured proximity, he said quietly. What you two have preserved is intensity, not proof. The words did not feel unkind, they felt earned. You think this is unfinished youth, I said. I think unfinished things glow. Claire stepped closer to the bed. Stop, she whispered. He turned his head toward her. I am not protecting him, he said gently. I am protecting you. She closed her eyes. From what? She asked. From mistaking resurrection for destiny. Silence settled over the room. The monitor kept time. I stepped closer to the bed. You're right, I said. Claire looked at me sharply. You're right, I repeated. We have not lived together. We have not tested ourselves against bills, illness, resentment. We have not endured boredom. David, Claire began. No, I said softly. He deserves the truth. Her husband watched me carefully. I loved her fiercely, I continued. But from a distance, it is possible that distance preserved us. Yes, he said. And yet, I added, I have known proximity. I have buried a woman who shared my bed for 40 years. I have failed and forgiven and stayed. I am not in love with an idea. The room stilled. Claire's eyes were on me now, wide and unguarded. I am in love with her, I said quietly. No one spoke. The machines hummed. Her husband exhaled slowly. That is clearer, he said. Claire reached for his hand again. You don't have to carry this, she whispered. I do, he replied. For a little longer, he looked at me once more. If I live, he said, this ends. I did not hesitate. Yes, Claire flinched. He noticed. You see, he murmured to her. That is the difference. Tears rose in her eyes. And if you die, I asked, he studied my face, then you will both have to decide whether you are brave or merely impatient. The word lingered. Brave, impatient. He sank back slightly against the pillow. I am tired, he said. Claire bent and kissed his forehead. The gesture was intimate in its familiarity. It was not theatrical. It was practiced. I'm here, she whispered. His eyes closed. The monitor steadied into its soft rhythm. A nurse entered quietly and checked the lines. She gave us a look that was neither hopeful nor grave, only professional. You should rest, she said to Claire. In a moment, Claire replied. We stepped into the corridor again. She did not speak immediately. He always does this, she said at last. Turns everything into a moral examination. He loves you, I said. Yes. She looked at me then. And you? Yes. The simplicity of it felt dangerous. She leaned back against the wall as if her body required support. I don't know what I am hoping for, she admitted. That he lives, I said. And beyond that? I did not answer. She studied my silence. Say it, she urged. If he lives, I said slowly, I will step back. And if he doesn't, I won't replace him. She let out a brittle laugh. No one could. I know, her expression softened. That wasn't an accusation. I didn't take it as one. We stood there, suspended between outcomes. I don't want to be rescued, she said. I'm not offering rescue. Then what are you offering? I met her gaze. A life that is honest. She closed her eyes briefly. That sounds clean, she said. But honesty can wound. Yes, and desire? Desire wounds more quietly. A doctor approached us then, his expression composed. Mrs. Hale, he asked. Claire straightened. Yes, we've stabilized him for now. The next 24 hours will be important. For now, she repeated. Yes, she nodded once. Thank you. The doctor moved on. Claire exhaled. For now, she said again, almost to herself. I stepped closer. You should stay, I said. I will. I'll go. She looked at me as if memorizing something. Will you answer if I call? She asked. Yes, even if it's 3 in the morning? Yes. A faint, tired smile touched her mouth. You never liked being needed. I've revised that position. She reached out then and touched my chest lightly, just above the heart. This, she said, is not theoretical anymore. I know. Her hand lingered a fraction too long. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. A cart rolled past, life continuing. I should go back in, she said. Yes. She turned toward the door, then paused. If he lives, she said without turning, we will not see each other like this again. I understand. And if he doesn't, she stopped. Yes? I prompted softly. She looked over her shoulder. Do not come to me out of victory, she said. The word struck hard. I intonated not he won. If he lives, he said for Stinkanama. I won't. She held my gaze a moment longer, searching for fracture. Then she went back into the room. I remained in the corridor. Through the small glass panel in the door, I could see her take his hand again. I could see the familiar curve of her body leaning toward his, intimacy forged in years. I stood there longer than was dignified. Then my phone vibrated. A message from Claire. I frowned. She was inside. I looked down. It was not from her. It was from an unknown number. You don't know me. But we need to speak about Claire. I stared at the screen. A second message followed. I'm her daughter.